Hello, hello, hello. Happy quarterly OPEX Friday, triple/quad witching. How's everyone doing today? Let's see who's in here. Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, John. Good morning, McRangers. Uh, Bank of Japan did not hike. They're still at 25s. And they're talking about, well, they're data dependent. Let's just put it that way. Thanks for putting in the news, Sterling. Good morning, by the way. Again, we appreciate Sterling when he's able to put the news in here. Good morning, Patrick, and happy Recalibration Friday. What is it? It's 4.5 trillion in OPEX today. 4.5 trillion. So it's going to be an interesting one. Oh, fantastic. Or they're going to lead us to nuclear war. Well, there you go. Happy Friday to everyone. Very quiet day so far. Uh, this is where we had the massive rally yesterday post FOMC, but this is where after today I'll be real interested to see what happens next week. We also had FedEx earnings yesterday, huge gap down. They had a miss warning of pretty significant slowdown, and they handle a lot of shipping stuff. So again, recession, we shall see. What else? Oh, other thing for all, I'm going to go over a couple things today that I'm keeping a very close eye on. May apply to something in your portfolio, may apply to potential trades. Again, do your own due diligence and analysis. Good morning, Jacob. Hello, Charles. I mean, this is, again, if you've been with me, this is one of my least four favorite trading days per year. The quarterly OPEX, you got futures, you got stock options, you got index options, you got all your rolling going on, which has been going on this week. This is where the big Wall Street firms set up their hedges. Their hedges expire, and then they start setting them up for next quarter. So, from a short term basis, I don't do anything. I let these days just play out, and then reassess on Monday. So, today we have rig counts and Harker speaking. By the way, Monday you don't have a lot early besides Bostic. So far, you got Google, Lilly, a couple of mega caps up. Chips are down. You got Nike, old CEO coming back, so it's up 8.5%. Did I mention? Oh, we'll go through stuff in a second. Groups, utility comm services up. Everything else sort of mixed to down. Nothing major. 60% for a 25 basis rate cut right after the election. Day after the election. We're back solidly in greed mode. Schiller PE 3681. Can this get to 37? Let's get us some good old 37s again. And yes, you have the OPEX. We already talked about that today. In terms of earnings, yesterday it was FedEx. FedEx. Let's peek at that real quick. Look at FedEx. FedEx. Losing the 200, back down to 261, was trading above 300 yesterday on a closing basis, down over 10%, losing the 200. So I'm going to be watching for rollover moves in this one. So just keep an eye on that. Some other stuff, let me just get it out of the way now. For the people who tuned in early, uranium restarting 3 Mile Island. For those who already are not in uranium, double bottom, that's just below 62.5, but double bottom forming against some very key support area has not triggered yet. So I'd be watching to confirm it, it has to trade above 2702 and close above 2702 to officially trigger it. Gonna be keeping an eye on that one because that could be a relaunch to the most recent high area. Again, something I'm watching, not a trade recommendation. Here's another thing, if it does trigger in the short term, let me just do this so we can see the different colors. I'm going to be watching, especially, see this first target area is right above the 62.5 of this retracement. So we get that first target area and close around that area. It easily, look at the way this lines up. Doesn't mean it doesn't change the probabilities. It's just really nice from both a retracement perspective and a target perspective from the double. First target's right around the 62. Second target's right at the 75. Third target's roughly the 87. And for the people who've been here a long time, you should know what all those levels mean. So there you go. There's another thing I'm watching finally, and then we'll get to broad markets. Keep an eye. NVIDIA has not been able to close against above the 62.5 and now has a little mini double top. I'm going to be watching this going into next week. In case this triggers next week, this is just a mini double top, but it could be setting up for a potential rollover. And why I'm also watching this is for another breakdown play in NVIDIA, that with a retest at 200. Also, now that 200 is out of the way, it's an area, but it's going to be out of the way of the base, which could then trigger a bigger move down. Now, until then, we have the trend still up. Good morning, Liquid Vistas. Yeah, there's a huge trade strike at 57.50. I'm watching 57.50 and 5800. Okay? They're just trying to keep the price up for all their ETFs, for all the ETF stuff. Good morning, Anissa. What's this? If they reduce their next cut to 25 right after the election, it would make the decision look political. I already think it looks political. I already completely think whether, the Fed, you can't say they're apolitical. I know some people think they are. Oh, this proves they're apolitical. No, this proves, all right, you had to go 50. You couldn't even go 25. They could have gone 25 in July and 25 in that. All of a sudden, you need to kickstart it with a 50, which drastically favors the incumbent party. So they already look political. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Richard. All right. If you missed the beginning, you might want to go watch it on replay. Again, I went over a couple stock things I'm watching. So, what else do we have? S&P. Again, 5,800, which we came up. 57.96 was the harmonic area. We came up to that area yesterday and bounced off it. The major areas I'm watching, 57.50, on any rally, 5,800, 57.96 to 5,800. And if we break down, back down through 57.50, I'm paying attention to 57.25 to 5,700. Again, as I said, I do not favor doing any short-term trading today based off the OPEX. Also, massively overbought on the daily. Cycles are starting to roll over. Weekly, they're still headed down. We still have the massive sloppy year double top is still in play. That's why after this gets out of the way, I'm focused on next week. Finally, the official reconnect with the NASDAQ. This still technically does qualify now. The NASDAQ finally put itself in double top territory. I will use the right side projections, but we don't know if the high's in yet. On a short-term basis, NASDAQ cycles also rotating down. Key area, if we break through yesterday's high, this 20,200, next is about 20,350. Okay? On a pullback, major support today is 19.9. Keep an eye, though, on a pin potentially right around 20,000. The Dow just through, but closing at the harmonic yesterday. Key support in the Dow's all the way back at watch 42,100 on a pullback, on a bigger pullback, on a minor pullback is 42.3. We'll have to wait to redo the harmonics. Oh, Liquid Vistas is your other account. So you get a second like. Well, thank you. Multiple account Ted. Russell hit the 87.5. 87.5. Now, this is not a double anymore. But it reconnected with the 87.5. By the way, if it does continue higher next week and takes out 2,320, the next target is 2358. Major support back at 2334. The VIX back at 16. Not even going to pay attention to those. So OPEX is out of the way. The DAX still breaking to new highs with the contract roll. 19,250 is the next target up. It's already back at key support. The notes hit the second target virtually yesterday. Still, I'm watching for a complete pullback, even possibly to the breakout zone, 114.04. The yields, watching for, this could return it to the 50% harmonic. Still closed within the rotation zone, but I'm watching over the next few days if this climbs to 3.8 again. So we could be setting up an area where the 10-year yield gets stickier down here. 10-2s. 10-2s. Still closing in on that 20 basis points. Dollar index. Interesting enough. Heads, yesterday was down closed, but there's been some buying pressure down here. Looks like the dollar really wants to firm up here, but there's no solid pattern just yet. We'll have to see. There could be one setting up for next week. Crude. This would be the only thing I'd be watching on a short-term day trade basis, but it's, you still got weird dynamics. Even in some of the non-related equity markets, you still got weird dynamics on this day. If it did break above about 71.60, the target's 73. Close above 73, we could see a little run higher, but right now this is very major resistance. Natty gas still, after triggering the double, just moving sideways. Nothing else to talk about there. Gold hit the next harmonic. Yay for gold. Yay. We'll have to wait to see if we get a pausing bar. Until then, when something like this, when I don't get a super strong pausing bar just yet, I use the round. So we're at 26.35. So I'd be using 26.50 and then 2700 until I get harmonic bars. That's just personally how I do it. Silver still 31.97 is the magnet price. Copper stalling out at the upper end of this channel, but now support coming back at 425. So on a pullback, that's the level I'm watching. The yen, watch to see if this can, we're still against the rotation zone, but this is trying to start climbing. Interesting, yen weakening again. We had some key divergences down here. You can really see it on the weeklies. So a lower low, higher low with the RSI. Cycles trying to still turn up. So we can easily see the yen weakening into the weekly rotation zone. Ethereum, the little bounce here. Sterling mentioned a %B buy, and it would if it closes above. But remember, it would only be a play for me into the rotation zone, and that's right there. Now, the bigger play for me would be Ethereum if it follows through and closes back above 28.20. Then it would trigger the double bottom. And it would have only hit the first target on the double top pattern. But thank you for pointing that out, Sterling. Uh-oh. Ted, people are going to be looking at your multiple accounts. Good morning, Jake. All right, what else do we have today? I mean, that's really it. I'm not seeing any requests. I'm not even going to bother looking at this going in the open. If you're paying attention to something shorter, watch also in conjunction with this 57.50 area, but watch on a spike down to the bottom of the 4-hour rotation zone. Just be something I'm paying attention to. Tesla, by the way, for all you Tesla traders, closed above the 62.5. So technically, the probabilities have shifted that we could retest the recent high area from the beginning of July. So, that's really about it. Again, I don't need to keep people around here for longer than they need. So, I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Remember, uranium. Keep an eye on NVIDIA. And watch longer term, watch FedEx. The longer term note yields are going to be sticky. I do agree, Sterling. We'll have to see if the market does, but that's what I think is going to happen. And for all the realtors who are shocked, why didn't mortgage rates have gone up the last couple of days with the Fed cut? Well, because it's not tied to the Fed funds rate. You watch the 10-year. Watch the 10-year. Wouldn't that be something, though? All the people who thought mortgage rates went down going into the Fed meeting. But now if the Fed was overly aggressive and the 10-year gets a little sticky here, also remember Powell talked about the terminal rate being higher. We're not going back to the zero bound, which I don't believe. I mean, if we have a big enough crisis, they'll cut this thing in a moment's notice. Oh, you want the spiders? Spiders. The next area, I mean, I'm watching this, let's see, 55, 67, 96. It's really going to be the 570s or the 567.50 area to 570. If it does, we're right here at the harmonic. This is why today's just ugh. It's ugh. What else do we have? I mean, the next major levels, if it continues to rally, is 578.88, which would take the potential double off the table. Technically, a short term, it's a triple, but the long term, this does still qualify. Because now, if it keeps marching higher, it will be off the table. So there's your spiders. I mean, if something major, I'd be paying attention to yesterday's low price too. 568 area. We're trading just below that right now, so it'll be interesting to see how that turns into resistance, but that's very key. And then the major support's coming in about 565. Well, for all the complicated models, the 2-year, remember, the 2-year is set by, the bond market. So, and the smart money is in treasuries. So, that's where that gets set. They should just, if you're going to peg it to something, just, all right, set the Fed funds rate following the 2-year. We just need a model and get this clown show out of the way. We just need a model and make it independent of 12 Fed governors and what they think and what they can trade against. You're welcome, PMG. Qs, again, stalling out that 75. If it does continue, 493.51. But remember, the Q's already gotten a double top territory. Doesn't mean this has to end, but if you're looking for the next big major target on the Q's, would be 493.51. All right. With that, I shall talk to everyone later. Have a wonderful and safe trading day. Try not to overdo stuff and get whipsawed. Again, it's notoriously, I found, bad trading on a massive OPEX. You're about to watch a video on Louisiana's declining shrimp industry. Sounds like wonderful Friday viewing. Declining shrimp industry. I did not know the Louisiana shrimp industry was declining. Maybe I'll have to search for that video. With that, I shall talk to everyone later. Have a wonderful weekend also, as we're heading into the fall season. Bye for now.